Welcome to St. Augustine this evening, the Mike Davis Show, and we've got some great guests for you. They've been here before. You're really going to enjoy a lot of information. And for those of you that are wondering, yes, I did finally get out of timeout from yesterday's show.
Sorry, Mike.
You and Davey did not help Amanda. That's all I will say. And it was one of those days that Darcy didn't have yoga, so she got to listen to the entire show.
I'm going to hear about it tomorrow.
You're going to hear about it tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow I will let you know.
Yeah.
So before we introduce our amazing guest, today's March the 27th. Shout out to my friend Hank, who had a birthday today.
Happy birthday, Hank.
Happy birthday, Hank. All right, so we're going to do some ad reads. I'm going to introduce everybody, and then we're going to entertain you and inform you. All right, so Powell Heating and Air Conditioning, they've been serving St. Johns County for over 40 years. They're always open 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, including nights, weekends, and holidays. They have a 15,000 square foot warehouse stocked with parts and equipment and over 10 trucks to serve you. They also service all major brands of heating and air conditioning units. So give them a call. It's important to have somebody to trust with an AC unit because we get cold, which is almost over, and then we're going to get really, really hot, and you want the AC working. So call Powell Heating and Air Conditioning, 904-794-2665. You will be thrilled, and you'll love the service that they give you.
Absolutely. A to Z Roofing and Waterproofing will also give you amazing service. They offer free estimates, and they have been serving St. Johns County for over 20 years in the construction industry. A to Z offers metal roofs for saltwater area homes with warranties for up to 25 years. They also offer shingle roofs with warranties for up to 50 years. They install tile roofing, cedar shake shingles, designer roofing, and flat roof coverings. Recent job photos with material descriptions can be seen at A to Z Roofing and Waterproofing.com. Call Chuck McCone and his team. They will get you set up with a solid roof. And if you don't have dinner plans yet, have dinner with the Tringali family. Carmelo's Pizza, they were voted best pizza 9 years in a row. They've got New York style brick oven pizza. They also serve salads, subs, wings, and more. Or you could go to 123 Burger House. They've been voted best burger for 3 years running. Chicken, wings, salads, authentic wood-fired pizza, and ice cream for dessert. Both restaurants offer dine-in, takeout, and delivery through Bite Squad and Grubhub. The Tringali family and their staff would love to share dinner with you tonight.
And South State Bank, it's a group of bankers you can count on. Their approach to building long-term relationships with their customers is the best in the business. If you're looking for a banking relationship that you can count on, check out South State Bank. They've got 3 locations here in St. Augustine to service, one on State Road 16, one on State Road 312, and my favorite branch over at the beach because they don't have to leave the island. You can also visit their website at southstatebank.com. They are a member of the FDIC, and they're the bank of this 904 now?
They are.
Our show, right?
Our show.
Our show. I don't know where Pete puts his money. I think it's in a coffee can in the backyard.
Don't tell his secrets.
I think people know. I think people know.
Rude.
I think they know. All right, we have Epicure on with us tonight. You guys have been on with us before, ladies. And you both do an amazing job serving people in St. Johns County. So Sunny Mulford, Wendy Lance, welcome back.
Thank you.
Love having you guys here. And what's going on with Epicure? I'm very fortunate to be one of the people that get the 8,000 page newsletter that you put out. It's not that long, but it is full of information. So what is going on with Epicure? What's up?
Well, a lot. As you can tell from the newsletters, we do try and put a lot of information in there for everybody to find out what we do. And for those of you who don't know what we do, Epicure is a food rescue organization. And back in 2018, we saw a documentary called Wasted: The Story of Food Waste, where we learned that 30 to 40% of all the food that's produced in the United States ends up in a landfill. More current estimates now are 38%, so it's a little worse than we thought. But there's all kinds of wonderful people working in that space. But I had no idea. But when I saw that documentary, I had no idea that the situation in the United States had gotten to that point. And we just couldn't believe it. We were just, we're like, oh my gosh, we're going to do something. Because, at the same time, we knew our neighbors had us very familiar with poverty in St. Johns County. And so the idea that we were throwing away this perfectly good food when there were so many people in our community in need, we just figured we had to find a solution to that. So we did a lot of research, started making connections, and since we opened our doors, our 5th year anniversary of our first food distribution is coming up in May. But since we started, we've rescued and distributed over 22 million pounds of food. The wholesale value of that food that we've put out in St. Johns and Putnam counties is about $40 million worth of food. And we have amazing volunteers. We're a 100% volunteer organization, so our volunteers work hard to make that happen, to help their family and friends and community members in need.
Yeah. How many volunteers do we have there every week?
Yeah, it takes about 300 volunteers to do what we do every week.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sunny runs a small army there every week, and
They run themselves now at this point. I mean, they're all so dedicated to the cause. I mean, I always say that nobody would work in the conditions that we have to work in if the food wasn't amazing. We have no air conditioning, we have no heat in our warehouses, so it's hot in the summer, and our people, suffer through all that to rescue that food because they see how good it is, and then they also meet the people that it helps, and then it just makes us all want to work harder to get more food and help more people.
Yeah, a lot of our volunteers are actually also recipients.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we get a lot of our volunteers. They show up and they see the value of the service that we're providing, the quality of food that we're providing, and they just want to get involved. And so the majority of our volunteers are also recipients.
Yeah.
So how long from the time you realized there was a problem and you started studying it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a 5-year anniversary, but it wasn't like it was a Monday and Friday you organized all of this. So how long did it take you to kind of plan and organize all of this?
Well, so we saw the documentary in November of 2018. We formed our corporation in December of 2018. We got our nonprofit status in February of 2019. We leased our first warehouse in April of 2019 and did our first food distribution in May of 2019.
So 6 months,
Mm-hmm.
give or take.
Mm-hmm.
And then how many volunteers did you have at the beginning of all of this?
5.
Wendy, how was that being 4 of the 5 volunteers?
Well, being the little sister, I was voluntold to be there. It was sweaty. It was fun, but it was meaningful. And right away, we actually had we were a little nervous that day. We weren't sure if we were going to have enough food for all the people that were going to show up.
Mm-hmm.
But God is good, and we had plenty of food for the people that came. And we just recognized, oh my goodness, this is just the beginning. This is just the tip of the iceberg. We have so much more work to do. Mm-hmm. And so Sunny put her head down, did all the work, and so here we are.
No, listen, it's a total team effort. There are people that volunteer up there 40 and 50 hours a week, week in and week out. And some people work, 3 hours a week, but they show up every time consistently. And because our volunteers are so consistent and so dedicated, we can just keep growing.
Yeah.
Where's your facility at now?
We have a warehouse in St. Augustine right off of State Route 16.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have another, so that one's about 2,500 square feet, but we have a 15,000 square foot warehouse in Palatka. So that one, it took us a few years to get that one ready to open up, but that one's set up like a grocery store where people can come and shop for food. So we open up on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for families to come and shop for food for free. But we also, our main model is to do mobile distributions. So 90% of what we do is mobile, where we load up. We have 3 refrigerated trucks, a refrigerated van, and then all of our volunteers' personal vehicles, and we transport food to low-income neighborhoods, so Section 8 housing complexes and other areas in need, and we distribute food directly from there. And
serving those food desert areas is really important because a lot of these people, they don't have transportation, they don't have gas money, and so they have different work schedule and family needs, and so it's not like they can show up at a specific date and time. But if somebody is in the neighborhood, handing out food, it makes a big difference. It makes it easy for them, and we set it up like a farmer's market style, so they still have that same freedom to go down the line and pick out the food that they like, that they want to use.
Where do you get the food from?
We rescue food, so we don't spend $1 on food. So we rescue food from grocery stores, wholesale stores, farms, distributors, and trucking companies. Recently, we actually did our first ever event rescue from the Players PGA tournament.
Mm-hmm.
We got, it was 4,700 pounds of produce and dairy products that we were able to put on our shelves on Friday and give out to people in need. And then we picked up another 10 pallets of potato chips on Monday. So those will go out this week. So we're really excited about that, and we really want to break into that space because most of that just gets thrown away. And I mean, and you have events all over the place all the time. The only other time we ever had an event rescue was Amazon in Jacksonville. They had bought a whole bunch of the Cracker Barrel Thanksgiving dinner kits and they were doing Thanksgiving dinners for their employees as a party, and they had over ordered by like 3,000 pounds. So we had to go 2 days in a row. Not we, it was one of my crazy volunteers who's amazing. She went and picked up this food at 11 o'clock at night, 2 nights in a row. And then we were able to give that to soup kitchens to serve as Thanksgiving dinners. And then also one church out in Crescent City, one of our volunteers, because we had so much. And the soup kitchens were so thankful to get it because normally they have to cook all that food. And so instead of having to cook and clean, all they had to do was heat up this beautiful, I mean, we've all tasted Cracker Barrel. It's good. And heat up this food and serve it. So it was a big relief for the volunteers not to have to, in a normal time when we all step up our efforts in every way and work harder and longer, they had an easy time and they were so thankful.
Right, so the crazy volunteer that went up there, how big was the truck that they took up to get? I mean, that's a lot of food. It's 1,500 pounds a night.
Yeah, that's not a lot when you come in, when you put it on pallets.
Okay.
So our trucks, the truck that she took up there that night had a 12 pallet capacity.
Okay.
But that was only about 6 pallets, not stacked high.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because turkeys weigh a lot.
They do.
Yeah, and mashed potatoes.
They do.
Weighs a lot.
I've dropped them into some deep fryers. Some of them are heavy.
Yes.
Don't drop them on your toe when they're frozen.
You don't want to do that. You definitely don't want to do that. You don't want them exploding out of the deep fryer either. So no, that's not a good thing. So you get started. You start. What was kind of like the first? I know Wendy was talking about the very first day, but what was like the moment you went, okay, this is going to have to get bigger?
Well, just in that moment, it was just always our mission to rescue as much food. So we've always been constantly sourcing food, constantly having conversations. Our volunteers, actually, every store they go to, they talk to the managers, and so they've recruited new sources for us. But it takes constant effort to continue to source food. But the more we source and the more connections we make, the easier it is. And then people do come to us a little more often now. Like the PGA thing was something that came to us. We had been trying to break into that space for years and never had a connection. And then finally it comes to us. And now they're saying, because we were able to execute on time and pick up everything we were supposed to pick up, now they know that we can do it. And then we showed them a video of the food on the shelves and told them how many people that was going to help. And so now they're interested in working with us more often. So we're very fingers crossed that grows significantly because, a lot of that will end up going to soup kitchens. And, every food pantry, every soup kitchen has seen just a constant increase in need because of inflation. It's, there's no the data is not keeping up with the situation, like all the statistics on hunger and poverty rates are back from 2021. So we don't even have the rates from 2022 or 2023 when all of this inflation has been hitting everybody. But on the ground where we see it, it's a relentless increase in need.
Yeah, so we were actually, because I was just asking Sunny this yesterday, because I know that, our demographic kind of, has waxed and waned over the years with different things. And when COVID hit, we had a whole new demographic of people coming in to get food for the first time that had never needed it before. And that population, for the most part, we were able to kind of help them during that, during that gap and fill that gap for them until they were able to get back to work. But now Sunny said there was a recent change in demographic too. We have some dads.
Normally it's always moms or women calling and coming to get food. There are men definitely, but it's a new thing now that we're experiencing where fathers are calling. And I think it's a little harder on their pride to make those phone calls, but they're just like, I have 5 kids in my house and I have no food. I need help today. And they wait until it gets to that just desperate time. And that's why I said we're kind of in this reactionary thing right now, because every time we get that call, we're like, of course, come on, or we're going to deliver it to you. So we're getting so many more of phone calls like that. And then just, people that call that just have, zero food in their house. And it's, like I said, that's just part of that ever increasing need that we're seeing.
One of the unique things about Epicare, too, is that we are a zero threshold organization, so you actually do not need to income qualify to come get food from us. We don't ask for financial statements. We don't ask for income statements. Because it's rescued food, and this is not a government-assisted program, anybody who wants the food can come and get it. So I think that's another advantage, especially when we have battered women and things like that, who are or people just coming out of incarceration. They don't really want to give a lot of personal data, but we don't ask a lot of questions. So anybody can come and get the food. We do have some basic information that we have to ask: how many people in the household, at least your initials, things like that. But one of the interesting things too that we found out is that we're serving a population, and the majority of them are vulnerable. 31% of our recipients are seniors, 30% are children, and actually this has been an increase, but now 19% are disabled.
Wow.
So we are definitely meeting the needs of a vulnerable population, even though it's open to all.
Well, and I think every time my wife and I, Darcy and I, go to the grocery store, we walk out, right? It's like we're grateful that we can buy what we can buy, but we're also like, how are people that are in that lower and middle income, how are they affording this? Because it is insane what grocery prices are when you walk out now. Yeah. And the other thing, when I first got involved with Home Again and dealing with some of these issues through homelessness, it was amazing to me how much food was out there. Like the food is there. We produce more than enough food to feed everybody. It's the distribution system that we currently have is not set up to go, okay, this food's not going to get sold, and we have to get it out of the store fast enough to get it to somebody who could use it. And to me, that's always been the breakdown in the system that we have.
Yeah, they're getting more predictive modeling out there right now about, the major retailers on, seeing, okay, this product is not selling as fast as we thought it was. So they are being proactive in getting that food to us because and it's to their benefit because they actually get an enhanced deduction for donating food to fight hunger. So just a very simple example is, so if they bought a product for $1 and they were going to sell it for $2, and if they donate it to fight hunger, then they actually get to write off $1.50 as an expense instead of $1. So nice. It benefits them financially for something that would have otherwise been thrown away. And the reason that the USDA and the EPA got together and the FDA got together to make that tax credit is that they have set a goal, and they set this goal back in 2016 to reduce food waste by 50% by the year 2030. So now we're in 2024 and we've made little to no progress. And now everybody's stepping up their efforts. And I was recently, just last week, in Washington, D.C. as part of the Zero Food Waste Coalition. And we had organizations from all 50 states and the World Wildlife Fund and the National Resource Defense Council and all of these major organizations. The head of Walmart on public affairs, policy and public affairs, he was there. And we were all there to speak to, we went to 51 offices talking about the legislation that we're trying to get passed in this farm bill to standardize date labeling, because about 7% of food waste happens because of misunderstanding date labels. And then also funding to increase the infrastructure around food waste and the coordination between agencies. So we have to build infrastructure, because if you don't have transportation and cold storage, there's no way you can rescue food. And so when we built our Palatka facility, we had heard this all along. And so we always knew that we needed to build in massive refrigeration. So we put in a 40-foot by 40-foot refrigerator so that you can drive forklifts in and stack, high. And then we also put in 3 45-foot long freezer container units that can double as refrigerators if we need to. So we have the ability to store up to 78 pallets of frozen food. But we don't keep food for long. When we get massive intakes of things, we share with all the other agencies. So we work with 14 different partners in St. John's and Putnam County to share those surpluses. So they get spread out as much as they possibly can, helping as many people as we can.
Yeah, name some of those agencies. They actually come shopping on Thursday.
Yeah, so St. Augustine Youth Services, Home Again, the ARC. So there are families that work at the ARC that we supply food to. There's Port in the Storm, Betty Griffin, something I'm forgetting.
And if you have a not-for-profit agency and would benefit for us to help supplement your pantry, please let us know. That's part of what we do. We don't just serve ourselves in our own name. We're here to partner with you as well. So.
How do they get a hold of you?
They can just contact support at epic-cure.org. Go on our website, and if you do the contact us, that email goes directly to me, and then I can direct it to either help you or direct you to someone in our organization, because we have all kinds of different people that are in charge of different things, and so I can get them right to where they need to be.
And you're up 24 hours a day, 7 days a week answering.
Almost. She doesn't sleep much. She doesn't sleep much. I know. And she gets every once in a while somebody will razz her because she hasn't answered an email in like 8 hours. She's like, oh my gosh.
I'm getting to it. I will answer everything before the end of the day.
She's unloading pallets in the warehouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is hard to unload the pallet and answer email at the same time.
Not with a forklift.
Yeah, you probably don't want to be too close to
no,
the
I'm just kidding.
no.
When you're the power pallet jack operator inside the truck, you have time before the forklift comes back to get the next pallet. So I'm usually the one in the truck, so I have time to do emails and phone calls. Yeah, it works out.
In between pallets.
So you're at 300 volunteers now. I mean, do you need more volunteers?
We're actually in really good shape with volunteers. Okay. I wouldn't say that. I mean, we're always happy to bring people in and let them come and help. But we actually had to start putting. We got an online volunteer registration and sign up platform, and we finally had to say, listen, if you're not signed up, if there's not a slot for you, you can't come, because we were getting to the point where we could have 30 volunteers when we only needed 10. And you don't want to be in that situation. So we kind of had to say, listen, you've got to sign up. And if there's not a slot, I'm sorry. You might have to look 4 months out or 5 months out, to find an opportunity to volunteer.
But I will say, if you like doing marketing, or if you're a videographer,
yeah, we want you.
We need you.
And truck drivers. We always need more truck drivers.
Truck drivers, yes, truck drivers too. Because I will say, one thing, because we are a 100% volunteer organization, we don't have a corporate structure for things like marketing. And although, we do an amazing job of saying yes and meeting the needs of the community, we do not do a very good job of advertising ourselves and making it known what we do. There's still so many people here in St. Johns County and even Putnam County who don't know who we are and what we do, which is amazing considering the volume that we do. So definitely, this is why we are so thankful, Mike, for you to have us on the show. And we love to talk about what we do, and we love the opportunity to share. This is just such good stuff that people need to know about. But that is one area that we lack in is our marketing department. So we don't do a whole lot of hey, look at us. And
so reading the list in the newsletter. Here's all the agencies, so we don't miss any, right? Yeah. So in Duval, Feeding Northeast Florida and Mandarin Food Bank. In Putnam, Bread of Life, Calvary Life Center, Feed the Need, Helping Hands Walaka, Interlochen Soup Kitchen, Lake Area Ministries, Parkview Church, Road Heaver Boys Ranch, Sharing Putnam's Bounty, South Putnam Christian, and St. Monica's Church. And then in St. Johns County, Betty Griffin House, Catholic Charities, St. Augustine, Home Again, St. John's, the Homeless Coalition, Port in the Storm, Simon's House, Southwoods Elementary, St. Augustine Youth Services, and St. John's Food Pantry. I just wanted to get all those in because you guys are distributing a lot of food out to a lot of different people, and I wanted everyone to know that it's not just people that come in and do the shopping. You're getting food out to all these other agencies that are helping people as well.
So that's part of our mobile plan, is not just, for us to take food in there, but, to neighborhoods. We want to get every agency working at their capacity. And then after they are working in their capacity in their areas, then as we get more resources, then we can seek out neighborhoods that are underserved. But for like the St. Augustine Youth Services, they have to buy their food. So all the food that we can donate to them just reduces their cost structure, so they can put their money into programs instead of, food.
So when you go to Washington, D.C., which is bureaucratic heaven, right? I mean, these people live to create new bureaucracies and to hire people to watch other people do other people's jobs, right? When you tell them how you're doing this and it's all volunteer, do they kind of scratch their head? Do they look at you like you're crazy? How do they react to that?
Well, the only agency that I really, or office that I talked about that in, was Kat Kamek, because she's been to our warehouse before, but we were pushing the agenda of food waste legislation around the U.S. So I wasn't necessarily talking about Epicure. We were talking about all of these organizations that have come together collectively saying this is very important. You know, we've got to do something to protect our resources. And one of the big things is that, you know, global warming is a big topic. It has been. The data, the science is there. And what, you know, by putting this food waste into landfills. So food waste is the largest item in landfills. And 6% of our greenhouse gas emissions, methane, every year in the U.S. is related to food waste being in landfills. And
That's
it's
just the
8%
United States,
globally.
yeah.
8% globally.
Wow.
Yeah. And so we, with our food waste, because, you know, we're so large and we waste so much, you're talking about 182 billion pounds of food a year. We change the prices and availability of products on the world market because of our waste. And, you know, and I always say this because one of the things that bothers me the absolute most is that it's animals too. We grow these animals in the conditions that they have to live in to become food for us, and we're throwing away about 20% of that every year. You know, it just, that one just hurts. It's like,
As a chef, my husband is, he's driven mad by an animal that was harvested, prepared for consumption, and then thrown away.
Yes.
It's a waste of life, and it's disrespectful to the animal to not use it if you harvested it.
And, you know, and that is such a valuable commodity when you're talking about low income people, because that right now, how much have you seen meat prices go up?
Yeah.
You know, they just can't afford it if we don't give it to them. And then produce, that's the other big thing. So 30% of what we're giving out every month is produce, and another 18% is meat. So those dollars add up very quickly and save a lot of money. And if you look at just, you know, the value, the wholesale value, a very conservative value on of what we give to each family every week, and it's about $150 worth of free food every week.
Yeah, I we're looking at that. Go ahead, Amanda.
Well, what I was going to say, just asking a question. I know a lot of hunters. Can hunters donate any of the meat that they've harvested?
No, the reason for that is we're regulated by the USDA, and so we have to control time and temperatures of food. And so every source that we get it from has to have, you know, refrigeration. We record the temperatures, and so we all have to prove that we're storing it at the right temperature and that it's at the right temperature when we give it away.
Okay.
So that it, you know, there has to be that chain of custody of and, you know, and you have to have sanitation standards, and from an individual, we don't know, but we can take produce from people and dry goods from people, but we can't take anything else.
Yeah, we do have a lot of local farms and farmers that actually contribute their surplus to us. And we actually have people growing gardens just to be able to bring us their
Yes,
produce.
yes, we do. Yeah, and you know, so we're a zero food waste facility. So when you're talking food rescue, there is going to be food that's not good for people. You're going to get packages of meat that have holes in them, you know, that poked holes. You're going to have produce that is, you know, beyond its, you know,
It's a life.
beyond its life. And so we give all of that to farms to feed animals. So we work with farms in St. Johns and in Putnam counties. And actually, one of the other crazy things that's been happening lately is so many more farms are contacting us, asking us to get our wasted, you know, our food waste, because they're struggling to feed their animals.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it's amazing, because what you're doing is you're filling that gap where before people would just, well, it's on the date or it's close to it, we're throwing it away, we haven't sold it, we got more produce coming in, we got to put the stuff with the newer date on it. And to me, that was the part, like I said, when I started looking at the problem, how do you get that food from where it's not being used to where it's desperately needed? And I applaud you for figuring this out and working so hard to get it done, because it's
a logistics engineer.
Yeah,
For sure.
yes, you know, I'm just amazed at that and the thought process there. Without is there any stories like you went to somebody and told them, hey, we can take your food, and how long did it take you to get into some of these places and convince them, hey, this is the right thing to do?
Sometimes it takes, you know, a lot of follow-up, but other places, you know, get on board right away. But I would say, like for KeHE distributors in Elkton there, I showed up probably 10 times, called, emailed. It took, you know, 8 months to get them to pay attention to us. But then they signed on with Feeding Northeast Florida, and now they in you know, the Feeding America network. So we're part of that network too. So then they started in their Georgia facility donating surplus food too. So you know, so we work on that all the time. But For the event stuff, it's not happening yet, and I've been out there talking about that one for years. So we're still working on it, but we made our first connection, so we're hopeful that snowballs.
The pallets are another kind of exciting thing that we started working on as well this year. And I know Hannah, who is also one of our founders, it's also Sonny's daughter, keeping it in the family, but she, is working right now on a program to work with truck drivers who get broken, pallets, and they have to get them off their truck. They have to get rid of them. They haven't been accepted, and these get thrown away. And so we're working to try to rescue that as well.
Yeah. So that's everybody that I talk to, there's no data about how much food gets wasted from rejected truckloads. And rejected truckloads that we've experienced have happened because a truck driver just, because they got stuck in traffic, they arrived after receiving hours. So the place said nope, and so they would have to go to the landfill and just throw it away. And just 2 weeks ago, there was a trucking company that called the third-party logistics company that hired them, and they said, we have 2 pallets of onions on the truck, but the store rejected them because they were the wrong size. They wanted medium, and the onions were large instead. So they called us, and we said, yes, we'll take them. But the message didn't get to the truck driver in time, so he went and dumped them in the landfill. Other things are, we got a whole pallet of microwaves one time. So it's not just food we get, but it's mostly food. And somebody had spilled like a vegetable oil on the top of the pallet. So the boxes just had oil on them. So we just took them out of the box and we donated them to a bunch of homeless shelters. And then, or just one, they reject pallets just because they're dusty on top. So we get a dusty pallet, we wipe it off, and then we give it away, or just one case out of a pallet is damaged, and they'll reject the entire pallet just for one damaged case. And so then we get the whole pallet, and we're like, okay, one little damaged case goes to the farm, and then we give the rest away. So, and there was an example of one time, like Trader Joe's, a truck driver had 3 pallets of beautiful cut fruit. It was pineapple and watermelon, and it was the date that he had it on the truck. I think it was July 21st, and then the expiration date or best by date was July 27th. So Trader Joe's rejected all 3 pallets because they said we don't have enough time to sell that, and so we ended up getting that. And I looked up the retail value of that, and it was like $25,000 in food that they were just going to throw away. So I mean, we hear about it all over the place. And then I was talking to the guy, the head of Walmart, when I was in DC, and he goes, yeah, we're working on that as a corporation to work on solutions to our rejecting food like that, because they recognize it's a big problem. All the third-party logistics people recognize that it's a big problem. So we work with, it was an app that I had actually used. It's foodrecovery.org, and they have an app that is real time. So if a store or a restaurant has food to donate, they can put it on line, and it'll list the quantity, the pounds, what it is, and the location. And then you get an instant notification when it's posted, and then it can get claimed. And so they have a claim rate of like 98%. And through that app, they have facilitated the rescue, I think, of, 100 million pounds of food so far. And so in talking to them, I was talking to them about the whole issue with the trucks and the rejected pallets, because they also do bulk donations. But this is a phone call situation where they're like, okay, this bulk load is coming in. But if truck drivers, if you don't have a solution and have them on their way within 45 minutes, they're going to throw it away because they don't have time. They've got to worry about how to mitigate that loss and make more money, so it goes very quickly.
Well, but it's not just we talked about the food earlier, right? So you talk about this whole trucking thing. It's the resources that go into making the boxes and the containers.
Yes.
None of those make it to their final destination. So they go from being made, which consumes an incredible amount of resources. The food goes in them, and then the entire thing gets thrown away. Yeah. Plus, you have the truck driver who's driven all over the country, right? All of the energy that's been expended to get this. And because we don't get the food to where it goes, we lose all of that. Yeah. All of those resources are wasted just driving around, making boxes, throwing boxes away, burning gas. So, I think the way that you're rescuing the food is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah. So on this thing, what we're trying to do is use their platform. And so we're looking for investors right now to convert that into a mobile app that each truck driver can have on their phone. So then we would have all of the large scale food banks that have loading docks, forklifts, and storage capacity to take this food, so that what they can do is just plug in their next destination, and it'll give them every food bank that's en route, so they can pick their one. It'll tell them what the receiving hours are. It'll give them the direct contact, and then they'll be able to track on their phone, just like you are on an Uber, how close they're getting. And then the site that's the recipient site will also be able to track that, so that they can make sure that they're there and ready to receive that and turn them around as quickly as possible, and get them on the road to their next profitable pickup.
That is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
You guys have a summer camp this summer? Are you working?
No, that's actually so one of our cooking. So we teach cooking classes as well, and that is part of our program. Because there's not a lot of people that. I was just filling out an end of grant report this morning, and it was like, well, how have you affected the outcomes and helped people become self-reliant? And it's like, well, the answer to that is not a lot, because most of these people are going to need us forever, and all we're doing is reducing suffering. That's the bottom line. Some people we have, like Wendy said, during COVID, when they temporarily, they were out of work, but then they went back to work and got on their feet. So anyway, one of the volunteers in that program, I was highlighting her because she actually started a cooking program in schools. She had done it up in Philadelphia and does it here. So people contact us all the time and say, how can I get my kids in your program? And I'm like, well, the location we teach at determines the kids that come. So we teach at New Mount Moriah Christian Ministry, and we teach at the Boys and Girls Club.
They're cooking tonight at the Boys and Girls Club, by the way. Tell them they're eating better than I am tonight. I think I'm having cereal for dinner. What are they having tonight?
They're having steak with peppercorn gravy and mashed potatoes for dinner tonight. So yeah,
That's good stuff.
I'm going to be in class teaching at the Mount Moriah tomorrow, so I get it tomorrow night. I'm ready.
Yeah. And this program is amazing because it really teaches, adaptability. It teaches resilience. These kids, learn how to be self-sufficient, not just because they're learning a life skill. They get to take all these ingredients home and cook the same meal for their family. But they have the advantage of the mentorship. Amazing volunteers like Marie who pour themselves into these children. And Sunny actually created a new program where they're actually, once they graduate from these cooking classes, which they get for free, by the way, if they go to a Title I school and they are vetted and they get into this program, where they get to work.
Wow.
And so we hire them to be chefs for us. And we had an opportunity. The Elks opened their doors for us to be able to provide meals for the Elk members.
Very cool.
And they pay them to come in and prepare these meals for them. So yeah, it's been a wonderful program. And the Elks love it because they get an amazing gourmet meal with some amazing chefs that are working alongside these kids. And it's a great opportunity for the Elk members to get together and support these children as well. They make a lot of money in tips, and they get a lot of smiles, and it gets them out of their environment. It makes them have to adapt to a new kitchen, a new crowd of people, and have to learn those skills and get along, and they do amazing. It's really good to really see them kind of light up and shine and use those skills that they've learned. So
Yeah, and after the dinner, they liked watching all the old people dance. They didn't want to go home. They were just like fascinated.
It is very entertaining. I don't know if you are interested in being an Elks member, but
I am an Elks member, and you should go over for karaoke night.
I'm just saying.
Sunday, we've been there.
You
Yeah,
should go
yeah.
to
And I
karaoke
promise
night.
I won't sing. So go and be rest assured I won't be there singing.
I have been there for that, and I'm afraid to go back for fear that they'll ask me to sing. So yes, I'm not going. So how many food banks are in Florida? I mean, we got 67 counties. Is there one in every county? Are there some that are more regional food banks? Or
Well, if you're talking about large-scale food banks,
I mean, is there anybody else that does what you're doing?
well, we're kind of a hybrid model. We do it a lot different than most because of our mobile model.
Yeah.
But like Feeding Northeast Florida, they actually do a good job with their mobile food banks. So you can kind of sign up, and if it's in an area that they're targeting that is underserved and has a certain percentage of population that is in poverty, then they'll come and help. So like we just started a distribution in Palm Coast, and Palm Coast has a poverty rate from 2021, the data, of 10%. And so I'm sure that's grown, but they only have like one food pantry working in that whole town. So we went there last Saturday, and we didn't advertise it until we were setting up 30 minutes before we started, and we had 100 families show up. And so I called them because I feel like this one's going to hit 250 families like this week. if not this week, then next week. And so I asked them, I'm like, I know this is one of your target areas. Would you guys like to come alongside us and bring a truck of food? And we'll bring a truck of food, and then, we'll have this great resource. And so they said that they feel like they can do that. So I'm looking forward to solidifying that partnership with them on that. But we've partnered with them before.
And that's a huge working class community.
Yes.
I mean, one of those what I think is probably being hit the hardest by food inflation costs. So.
Yeah. And we're doing, it's a Hispanic church there. So we're also able to reach a minority population, because it definitely is the case that if you have somebody who speaks your language, you can communicate with them, and that message is going to spread through that community. So
yeah, and the migrant workers are definitely one of our vulnerable populations, and all of our surrounding counties. They definitely have a lot of, and I think it's underreported how much food insecurity is among that population as well. Yeah. But I think the difference of some of the other agencies out there doing food that are not that are not doing the food rescue, if it's a government funded food pantry, there's a lot that goes into having to income qualify for that food, and there's limitations on how much food you get. So you're only allowed to go maybe once every 2 weeks, and you're only given one bag of groceries, and you have to disclose all of your personal details. And so, versus being able to show up, get $150 worth of groceries, and being able to pick out in the line of what you want, and not just be given. I mean, if you've got a house full of lactose intolerant kids, you're probably not going to want a gallon of milk and a block of cheese and a pound of butter.
Yeah.
So, being able to pick out those foods that you want. So it is definitely, a quality there that attracts our population of recipients to Epicure, because they realize the value there.
Yeah, there are very few food pantries that offer choice. Very, very few.
Yeah.
It's a new thing that now people are recognizing, especially in the food waste realm, that you create food waste by forcing people to take what they don't like or don't know how to cook. So we, have always, and there's, a dignity in being able to choose what you want, and so we like to uphold that dignity and respect and make people feel welcome, and and I feel like if you just walk up and here's your bag of food, go, it's just a different.
Yeah, and we, and that's what's interesting about Epicure too, is, we're twofold. We're humanitarian, obviously, and we're environmental, right? We talked at length about our environmental, but the humanitarian part of it is really important to me. And, we talk about, food insecurity. We want to end food waste, and we want to end food insecurity. And food insecurity is different than hunger, right? We think of hunger, we think of starving people in Africa, people, going through famines. But food insecurity is something very different, and something that's sort of unique to the developed countries, because, we make money, we have houses, we have cars, we have things like that. But now we have to decide whether the last $5 of our income for that week is going to go toward buying the loaf of bread, or putting gas in our gas tank to get to work, or, buying the Tylenol for your kid at home with a fever. And so, because income is especially with inflation, isn't meeting, the needs of what our families have just to survive, and especially with our elderly, and having to decide, whether or not they can afford their medications, which we all know. If anybody has an elderly person in their home, and the expense of those medications, you know what that's like. And so Epicure just kind of, is able to, take some of that financial burden off by providing the food, so that they can spend the money on the other things to get by during the week. And one gentleman, Sonny, told me the story one time of a gentleman that, for the first time ever had needs, and he had to come in and get food from Epicure. And it was definitely a humbling experience for him. But then he was able to turn around, and once he got back off his feet, and he started his own business, and now he pulls up on his motorcycle every once in a while and just hands Sonny an envelope of cash to go toward continuing our efforts of what we do, because it was so important to him in his time of need. So there's definitely the human aspect, and when you put a face on food insecurity and what that looks like, and how hard it is for these families to make these tough decisions in these tough times. It's hard to stop doing what we're doing. It's hard to say no. So that's why Sunny spends all of her time and energy pushing forward and meeting those needs. And we thank you that we're allowed to come on here and tell you about it.
I think you guys are doing an amazing job. Epicure is done wonderful work within our community. Davey Hartzell wanted me to tell you hello as well. So if I don't do that, I'll be in trouble with Davey. But Davey wanted me to make sure you guys said hello. And he was disappointed that he wasn't going to be here when you were here. So, but also I figured without Davey here, that's about 12 more minutes of talk time that you guys have. So I just wanted to give you the full time. I love Davey too.
Zing, zing, zing.
Yeah, which is why I give him a hard time all the time.
Yeah.
But you guys have fundraisers? Any fundraisers coming up?
We do. It's a little ways out. You got plenty of time. Save the date. It's going to be on October 12th. We have our annual 5K, Epic Cure, Run for the Cure race, and that will be at Anastasia State Park. We'll run through, we'll actually start it at the amphitheater, It's a beautiful course. We run through the state park, and at the end, we'll have concert, we'll have food trucks. It'll be a good time. So you got plenty of time to prepare for that. But we definitely also wanted to extend an invitation. There's not a lot of people, again, that have had the opportunity to see what we do and to be a part of it. And so if anybody would ever like to just stop by the warehouse and see what it is that we do, we have one here in St. Johns County and one in Putnam County. We have an open invitation for you. If you want to stop by, make sure you're wearing closed-toed shoes and we will give you the tour. We have regular business hours, but if you want a personal tour with Sunny, or even if you're available, if you want to just email us, let us know that you're coming. We will make time because we definitely know that it's important to get the information out there about food rescue and about food insecurity. So, yeah.
You mentioned showing up. They will not make you volunteer the first time you show up.
Well,
you might want to volunteer, but they won't make you volunteer the first time you show up.
Unless you're a truck driver, you might just get sucked in.
Then it's done. So the other, we had talked a little bit before the show. A couple of years ago, you were trying to get funding for a new warehouse. And there was funding available. The county, it divvied up. Home Again got some of that funding. I felt horrible that we got the funding and that Epicure did not, because I think that you're a huge resource. But you have some money in the state budget right now?
Yeah, we have an appropriation for $1.5 million in the budget, so it is there. And as long as Governor DeSantis doesn't line item veto us, we will get that funding and be able to build a 10,000 square foot warehouse here in St. Johns County. So we have 2,500 square feet right now. We'll be able to have 10,000 with large scale commercial drive-in refrigeration. We're also planning on putting in a 3,000 square foot commercial kitchen to expand our cooking classes significantly.
So that's going to be a huge. I'm so glad. I hope that stays in the budget. I think, the bang for the buck that the state would get out of that is absolutely huge.
Yeah, well, that's what we had a meeting with DeSantis' staff on Friday, and they were talking about that normally they have in the budget to purchase food to fight food insecurity and hunger. And I'm like, well, in 3 months, because we're putting out right now $500,000 worth of food in St. Johns County, you would get your investment back in 3 months, and then you would have perpetual food. So it's not like you have to keep on buying food, because we don't spend any money on that. So we're really hopeful. But I mean, it's going to be $2.2 million to build everything that we want to build in there. So I believe that the county will come up with the rest. But we're always willing to talk to anybody else that might be interested in helping us out.
Naming rights.
And in the meantime, we have to pay the rent and the electrical and the gas for our trucks. So we always need help if anybody is interested.
We do have a question from the audience. Yep. Bobby wants to know if you handle pet foods. Are those available at your facilities?
We don't get a lot of it, and so we work with pet rescues, so Safe and some other rescues out in Putnam County, and we give it to them because we don't have enough for everybody. And it's one of those things, that when you only have 20 or 30 bags of dog food and you've got 500 people that want it, we figure that's a good resource to take to those agencies, and instead of, because like when people are shopping for that, like you might have 30 people in the warehouse that are all shoppers, and you got 30 people that all want that dog food. It just, if we don't have enough, or a good enough variety, we try and target those donations. And just the other day, we got in a whole bunch of dog shoes and dog toys, and one of our volunteers dropped that off at Safe. And
That makes sense.
For sure. Well, one of the things I wanted to highlight too about what Sunny was talking about when she had that meeting, it was sort of an aha moment of we don't have to buy food. We can just for every dollar that you donate to Epicure, that produces $35 worth of goods that we're able to put out into the community. And so I'm not sure there's not any other organizations out there that can say that. Most people say if you give $1, we give a pound of food, but we're saying we can give you $35 on your return of $1. We can put $35 of food out into a family. So
yeah, and that's our average over our lifetime. If you look at just 2023, it's more like $39, but that's our average since the beginning.
We're getting more efficient.
Yes, we are.
Keep working those volunteers just a
That's
little
right.
harder.
I know.
All right, so we got about 10 minutes left. The last time you were on, you're a traveling nurse.
Yes.
You have been around the world to some very interesting places helping people. The Bahamas, Europe, different places. So have you been anywhere lately?
I have. Yeah, we, my husband and I, we're both, medical missionaries is where our heart is, but we have a practice here in St. Augustine that we run, or that he runs and I help. And so we actually just returned from Ukraine. We were there to run mobile clinics and to support the local hospitals there that are definitely running pretty lean right now, and people that are just suffering from the effects of a very long, drawn-out war. This is my 4th time there. I was there right after the war began, and not much has changed. They're the same, people that are living on that line of where the war kind of shifts back and forth. The border is moving right now. The war is moving. And so the people living in those areas are definitely suffering and going without. So we were very happy. We work with a church there. It's actually a seminary in Kyiv, and they have some pastors that work to actually be our interpreters and our guides, and they're well connected with the military there, so we feel pretty safe. So it was an amazing blessing. And I know we went to the Bahamas together. We taught some first aid down there.
I just carried bags.
Classes.
I was just the brute squad. I didn't do anything but carry bags.
I was the entertainment committee. We practiced CPR on him. He did great. He lived, so it was good.
I lived. It was amazing. Just touch and go there for a minute.
But yeah, so it was good stuff. And we have an orphanage in Haiti, also locally, Shay and Peter Fontana. If you've read anything about that, there's definitely a situation going on in Haiti. We haven't been there recently because we just cannot get into the country, but we do have 40 children there and staff members that we are praying for and providing for and anxious to be able to see again soon.
How is the mission doing down there? With all the unrest, how are they holding up?
So we had to move one night, sort of suddenly in the middle of the night, because we were surrounded. Thankfully, we were able to, with the guidance of our director there, Roland, and her wisdom, it got us out just in time. But right now we have a very unideal situation where we have a very small house with a lot of kids. And we had to move them into another location, which is safe and secure for the moment. We get daily updates to make sure that they're okay. But it is difficult, and every time they have to go out to buy food, they put their lives on the line to do that. People are getting caught in the crossfire every day in Haiti. It's a little mini Rwanda right now. So it is scary and it is dangerous, but so far we've been safe. So,
is there anything that we missed that you guys want to talk about?
I think, just that, I just want to reiterate our future and what that means to us to have our own warehouse and what that means for St. Johns County and our surrounding communities. Because we want to, we don't just service ourselves and individuals, but we service all of the other local not-for-profits as much as we are able to. And we want to be a hub and a resource to our community. And right now we're limited because our warehouse is small. We have landlords and we have other tenants in that space that don't necessarily always appreciate us and the space that we take up, because of how many volunteers and how many trucks and things we have coming and going.
Yeah, literally, we spill out into the parking lot all the time to process pallets of food because we can't work in the warehouse because there's not enough space. And luckily, a volunteer bought us one of those stacking pallet jacks. We go like 3 high in the warehouse trying to make room. and it's just temporary because our warehouses are empty on Sunday. So we get food in and we're putting it out every day, and then by the time Sunday rolls around, the warehouse is empty. But in the meantime, you got to store it all before you push it out, and it's hard to work in the parking lot in the summer.
Yeah,
And because of the financial constraints and how expensive rent is, we had to unfortunately give up half of our warehouse space earlier this year, and that was a tough one to swallow. So we definitely had to suck it in and make it work for now. So if you are interested in supporting us and in supporting this venture, certainly we're hoping that we get some state funding to come through, but we do rely on the community and your support and your donations to make that happen. So
and 100% of all donations go directly to covering operating costs.
You're not paying any salaries. Nobody's getting paid.
Yeah.
It used to be that way in the private sector, but it's a little bit better right now. You guys are doing an amazing job. I also want to announce that this show is brought to you by Anastasia Diner. Anastasia Diner is one of our longtime listeners to the show and has begun sponsoring all of our nonprofit groups that come on. So you go to Anastasia Diner. They do a lot of things as well for local community, local nonprofits, and are very involved with St. Jude's as well. But want to thank them for sponsoring this segment. You guys are doing an amazing job. Anytime you have news or you want to come back, you are always welcome to come back and let us know. If you would like to come spike the ball after the budget is signed and you get that, you're more than welcome to come in here and jump up and down and be very excited because you've worked incredibly hard for a long time in a very tight facility while continuing to expand and help more and more people. So hats off to everything that you guys have done, Sunny and Wendy. Yeah. You guys are awesome. And stay out of the war zones.
I know. I don't like her doing that stuff.
No promises.
You just need to take her passport away.
Almost due for a new one now.
See, here's your opportunity.
I know the code to her front door. I'll get in there.
Well, your mom and dad must have done an amazing job with both of you because you have given back so much to the community and so many to communities for you all over the world. So thank you both for everything that you have done and really, really appreciate you taking the time to come in. And again, like I said, anytime you have something coming up or you have a fundraiser, please let us know so we can announce that and let everyone know. And Davey is all in for sponsoring something.
Okay.
I don't know what yet. Maybe a spin class
Sunny
or something.
has your number.
Barbara Jean, text him and let him know. All right, this is the Mike Davis Show. Thank you all. We'll be back tomorrow with a very special guest for trivia.
Yep. Bye.